Hello there, it's Bibi Cameron here for Neat and Tangled, and today I want to share with you a couple of projects using oak leaf stamp set and dies and landscape duo set simply stencils. I think these stencils are quite cool and you have a positive side and a negative, so you can create with this stencil a nice background with mountains, the sky, lakes, or a geometrical pattern, and also use one of these stencils as a mask after working with the other one. So I'm going to explain you that better in this video. And as I was crazy to try gilding flakes, I mixed everything together to create the projects I'm going to share with you today. To start, I'm going to place the paper on top of this board, then I'm going to grab the stencil, I'm going to place it on top, and I'm going to use masking tape to keep everything in place. And I'm going to be using this glue. It's called Cosmic Shimmer Flake and Glitter Glue, and this has been the best glue I found to work with the stencils and the glimmer flakes. And I also use this brush. It's by Team Holtz. It's a distressed brush used to apply gesso, but you can also apply the glue or any other things. You can also use any large brush, and I'm going to apply the glue like so, and I'm applying the glue slowly and in horizontal motion over the stencil. I'm going to avoid at all costs to move the brush in vertical to that paper because the glue can leak underneath the stencil and we don't want that. If that happens, it's not a big deal, okay? But it's better to keep everything clean and neat. And I'm going to put the brush in water straight away. Now I'm also checking if I transfer the whole pattern, and I did. So I'm going to clean my stencil straight away with wipes, and I'm also like to put a container with water or soapy water next to me so I can just put the stencil like so and keep it clean. I also like to use my heat tool to speed the process of drying this glue, and when it's dry and tacky, I just use a tiny bit of the flakes, and I'm going to show you a tiny bit because this afternoon I was playing with my daughter and we were making a mess. We have flakes on our hair everywhere. So I found that you don't need to apply a lot of flakes, just a little bit, and rub them with your fingers. You don't need any fancy tool to do this. Just rub it with your fingers like so. If at some point you feel that you are using too little flakes, you can just grab more, but check out, I'm just using those that I have on my fingertips. And I also noticed that when applying the flakes with your hands, like I'm doing here, you get better results. And you see you don't have any mess, just a very, very small mess. But when you are working with flakes, you know that the flakes go everywhere, but it's not that bad. At the beginning I was using a container and a bunch of things, but I ended up working just on my table, using a wipe constantly to keep the desk clean. As I was using too little flakes, there is not too much worry about wasting my flakes. Okay, now I'm going to use this anti-static powder. This is the same powder I used before stamping with clear Versamark ink, and this is because the paper remains a little bit sticky, and as I'm going to be applying another colors of flakes, I don't want those other flakes to stick on it. So I'm going to use the stencil now as a mask just to cover the previous flakes I just applied, and I'm going to apply glue again in the same way I did before. To remove the stencil, I noticed there was two corners there without glue, so I just grabbed the brush and I reapply glue there, and I use my heat tool to dry the glue quicker. And what I like the most about this glue is that it's very strong, but it was very easy to clean from my stencils. So now I'm applying the silver flakes like so, and you will see that I get perfect seams between the different colors of flakes. So this afternoon I was trying the flakes with the stencils, and also I was playing with my toddler Emma, applying the flakes, and she loved it so much. So we create a bunch of paper, and we also use the Balloon Duo Simply Stencil by Neat and Tangled to make this panel here, and I love it so much. But at that point I was thinking of making a panel with the Landscape Duo Simply Stencil because I want to make a project for Thanksgiving. So here you have a sample of a panel I'm creating using the whole paper just to create a background. But I have to be honest with you, and I'm not a big fan of metallic and glossy backgrounds. I really like clean and simple projects. So what I did was using some of my favorite dyes to die cut these panels and create some very exclusive and delicate embellishments to create tags. So you will think that it's a lot of work to just add the flakes to the paper and die cut it, but the results are really stunning. So I use the oak die to cut the paper that normally will be super easy to remove from the die and create this beautiful die cut. But when you die cut a piece of this paper, you will notice that you might need to use a tool or something to be able to get the paper from the die, because just with the die brush the paper is not going to leave the die. And this is because that glue I use to stick the flakes. It's still not a big deal, and you can see here how easy I remove the die cut, but you might need the help of some tool to get that paper out of the die. So I want to show you that as well, because if you have a problem taking the paper from your dies, you will be, what I have to do now? But it's not that difficult, okay? This is so easy, super easy. So I just grabbed this stamp set as well, and I stamped some sentiments with clear Versamark ink, and I embossed it with detail embossing powders by Tonic Studios in matching colors. So I used silver, gold, and also copper. And then I cut some banners to add to my tags. So I have all the parts I need to assemble my tags, and I'm going to show you that now. I think the video shows better than my words, but I basically align the banners in some way they overlap each other, and when I cut them you can see the sentiment perfectly on that tag like so, and then I use lining thread to tie all together just like I'm showing here. And well, I also was using a circle punch to create a little hole to pass the thread through that hole and being able to do the whole thing. So that's the embellishment I'm going to use on my tag, but of course you can use this in many different ways and also as a topper for your cards. I just thought that this was a very easy and quick project to embellish a beautiful treat bag for your Thanksgiving table. It's also because these metallic accents and all these beautiful elements that you can add easily to a small paper craft creation, and it will make all the difference on your table. So I'm also adding here a ribbon, and I'm just using a regular stapler just to stick that ribbon on the back, and I'm using glue dots to keep everything in place. And you can also put in the little bags any kind of sweeties that match with the colors of your tags. I was looking in local sweetie shops for that kind of sweeties, and something white, something gold, silver, or rose gold would make the work. So another thing is you can also use smaller die cuts behind the leaves, and you can also cut that banner in different ways to make it even easier. So that's what I did in this second tag. They are not exactly the same, but they are very similar tags, and I create another one just to share with you today as well. So there you go. This is another tag. It has less elements than the one I just made. You can see here the other one, and you can compare them so you can see which are the differences. But you can also go all baroque, and you can also add a lot of metal to that tag and create something like this. So you can play around with the paper and your die cuts to see which other things you can create. You can also use this as a topper for a card or a box, or you can also create a card using the same composition. If you see there, what I did was using the same idea, but this time I die cut a window in the center of the panel. That's a square window, and behind that I added crafty foam to add dimension, and I glue the metallic panel just behind that so that it doesn't overtake the whole front panel of the card and it looks quite more simple and elegant. I really like this paper. You can see how nice and how well defined those waves or that pattern created by the stencil looks in that paper. So I hope you can give a try to this technique, and I also hope you like this video with ideas and inspiration to use your Neat and Tangled supplies. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting! Bye!